All right. Well, it was good to be home again last week, and pleased with the outcome of the game. While I think that we won the game handedly, certainly there's a lot of things we can work on. Third down on defense continues to be an issue, especially in the first half. I think we got it corrected a little bit in the second half. And just little things. Our return game, we've got a lot to work on, kickoff return and punt return. There were some things fundamentally, offensively, that we need to do better. And so hopefully we can just continue to gradually get better. Certainly the competition will ratchet up again this week. First conference game, division game at home, national game on ESPN. Hopefully we can get a great crowd and make this place a great atmosphere to play on Saturday at noon. I know our players feed off that a lot. So.
You mentioned fundamentals on offense. Can you give a couple examples of things you want to see better from?
Yeah, I think blocking on the perimeter at times out of the A-backs could be better. Just steps. When I'm talking fundamentals, I'm talking about angles, steps, things that you have to do on every play that weren't as clean as they could be or need to be. There's always something that you can work on to get better at.
Recognized in the polls, you get recognized in the polls. You treat that as kiss of death or recognition for hard work?
Honestly, I don't even pay any attention to it. I think you focus on the game at hand, and all that stuff will take care of itself. Especially this early in the year, you just don't even pay much attention to it.
If your first play from offense doesn't go for a touchdown, you're going to call a timeout and chew your guys out?
Yeah, I don't think so. We've been fortunate in that. We've hit some big plays. I think we all know that's probably coming to an end.
Coach, and I guess is there some concern about overconfidence in terms of the offense just because of the way you guys have been easily scoring so quickly?
I would hope not. If they watch the tape of North Carolina, they certainly shouldn't be overconfident. I mean, it's been a straight dogfight for the last 2 years trying to score points. I mean, they're big and physical and strong, and we don't play well, we'll get embarrassed. So we don't have anything to be overly confident about, that's for sure.
You talk about North Carolina. What about them in particular on defense has impressed you so much?
Well, they're just huge. I mean, they're big guys that are strong. I think the Copels kid's probably, no question, is probably a first-round draft pick. Athletic at 6'6", 290. You look the other defensive end is 6'5", 6'6". Tydreek Powell in there has played for 3 years. He's a heck of a player. They've got a couple of junior college guys in there. And then every year they have a really strong linebacking core that's probably as good as anybody in the league. So, they've got good physical talent on defense. I mean, they got big guys that are strong and can run.
I know you probably don't pay much attention to this in the middle of a season, but just what are your thoughts on 2 new teams coming in and kind of all the hubbub going on right now in college sports, and who knows where it's all going to
honestly, I hadn't had time to think much about it. It'll sort all itself out, and I think we're fortunate in that, our presidents and Commissioner Swafford's kind of been on top of that, and sounds like they have a plan and they're moving forward with it. I'm sure that, they've got the best interest of the conference at heart, and whatever they do will benefit all of us. So, not having anything to do with that, I generally don't waste my time thinking about it.
I think you had 3 guys handle kickoffs. What's the plan going forward, and how did you evaluate them?
We'll see how it works out this week. I mean, I thought that Justin kicked the ball better in the last game than he did the first 2. It'll be competition, and whichever one we feel like kicks the best this week will probably be the kicker in the game. And as long as they're getting it done, they'll be the kicker. But, Chandler started the last game, and after about 3 kicks, I wasn't completely satisfied that we were getting what we needed. So I thought we'd try somebody else.
Coach, just kind of strength versus strength. You're rushing versus they're stopping the run, and battle of the trenches will be a key on Saturday.
That's always a key, and the big key is going to be us stopping them from running the ball, because they're going to come in here, I'm sure, trying to run the clock and control the ball. That's what most people try to do. If you look, the last couple of games, I think, have been like 10 or 12 possessions in the game for both teams, where a normal game is probably 16 or 17 possessions. And what we'd like to do is stretch that. We only ran 57 plays on Saturday. Now, part of that is hitting a lot of big plays and scoring quick, but the other part is getting the other team off the field. And so, both teams running the ball is going to have a big part in this game. It always does.
According to the depth chart, it looks like you settled on Ray and Phil at your tackles. Is that right?
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing. Those three, they'll practice again this week, and if the two that has the best week of practice will probably be the ones that start. They all played about the same amount of time in the game. Actually, Ray played more than the other two because he played guard, too, for about 20 snaps.
Last year, obviously in the bowl game, punt returns was a problem, but you seem to have found an answer with Zach. Talk about kind of a guy he is. He seems to have a lot of fun back there returning punts.
Well, I think he wants to return them. We haven't given him much of an opportunity yet. We've got to do a better job holding guys up and giving him a chance to get started. But, he's a very conscientious kid, grounded, doesn't get too excited. I think, to this point, he's done a nice job fielding
them. Regarding kind of what Zach was asking about the play calling, I know it obviously helps your play calling when guys are executing what you want, but are there times when it's easier or when you get more in a rhythm or can anticipate what's going on than others?
I don't know. I mean, you just look out there and call what you think will work. I mean, that's what you think your guys can do. Certainly, if they're executing at a high level, it doesn't make as big a difference what you're calling. Most all of them will work. My job as a play caller is to try to put our guys in the best position. That still doesn't mean that you're not going to have to block or read or do something to have success, but you try to put them in a position to have the most success they can.
Is this team ahead of where you thought they'd be right now, or are they about where you expected?
Oh, I don't know. I think the identity of this team's still out there a little bit. We've played a fourth of the season. After this week, it'll be a third. I think as the thing unwinds, as I've said before, I think you got to get probably 4, 5, 6 games into the season before you really have a beat on everything.
To go back to, I was asking, can you think back to a game where it seemed like everything you were calling was working as well as it was?
You talking about here or overall, or I've had a bunch of games like that at different places. Here, the first game was kind of like that. The second one wasn't too bad. Through the years, there's probably been other games that you kind of felt like that if you didn't screw it up, you were going to score. So, I didn't. That game was just kind of, once I get into the game, I kind of get locked in, and all the periphery, I don't have time to think about much. I'm watching what they're doing and dialed in trying to call the plays. I don't really think about it.
With what Orwin's doing this year, is that just a case of more opportunities, or is there something that...
It's the nature of what we do, and everybody gets hung up and carried away with average per carry and average per... if we wanted to lower his average per carry, we'd just turn around and hand him the ball. I think the key to it is you get him the ball when it's time to get it to him in the proper place to get it, and then he does a nice job with it. He certainly has made some plays. He needs to do better blocking. But as far as having the ball in his hand, he's been pretty good. Hopefully this week he's going to focus in and get better at blocking.
Brent Renner has completed over 80% of his passes so far this season. How do you go about trying to maybe confuse him a little bit and force him?
Well, hopefully that you don't let him have the little dink and dunk short passes that they throw. It's a lot. You're going to complete a high percentage if you're not throwing them more than 3 or 4 yards downfield. So you got to try to take some of that away. I think he's a very talented guy. Hopefully you can put some pressure on him, and hopefully he'll make a mistake somewhere along the line. But he's very accurate. They've got good receivers, and they've got a good idea of what they want to do on offense.
When you break down tape and look over things, what is your definition of an explosive play? Some coaches it's 15 or more, others it's 20 or more. What do you consider an explosive play?
We try to look at how many plays we got over 20 yards normally, but I don't get all hung up on that. We don't even keep a stat for it, really. I'd have to go back and look, but we don't talk about it.
Now that Lanier is back, is he someone that you feel somewhere down the road can make a contribution as a backup?
Well, we thought he could coming out of spring, but we'll see. He's we'll have to see what he can do in practice this week, and we're glad to have him back. We got he and Phil back. It gives you more depth. Still waiting on Morgan Bailey, but the more to the party, the merrier. So hopefully he can come in and carve out some playing time.
BJ, are you getting to a point where you're going to have to make a point about a kind of Fisher cut bait with his red shirt?
Not really. He's still in red jersey, so it really wouldn't matter. I mean, he practiced yesterday, but he's not full go. When he gets back out there, I'll sit down and talk to BJ, and we'll figure out what we're going to do. Whenever he gets back out there. I mean, whenever he can go. He couldn't play right now anyway, so it's moot to even think about it.
As the nature of what the scoreboard says enabled you the flexibility or kind of a luxury in a way to get St. John into the offense and snaps and so on. What do you think that's meant to him and his development so far?
Well, anytime as a young player you can get out there and play, it's invaluable. And I thought he played a lot better in the last game. He took better care of the ball, and he's a good runner. I mean, there's no question that he's hard to tackle and a good runner, and he's got a good enough arm. So I think it's just experience and being consistent, and the more he gets to play, certainly the better he's going to be, you'd hope.
Since you don't pay attention to it, I thought I should point out that nearly half of your touchdowns are explosive plays of 20 yards or more. What does that say about just the way things are, I guess, moving on?
Says that guys are getting in space and finishing, and we're doing a good job blocking downfield. I think the biggest difference that I could see watching, as you go through and you watch tape from a year ago and you get ready and you watch this tape, is we're doing a much better job blocking on the perimeter and at wide receiver than we did a year ago.
How do you generate more of a pass rush from your front three guys?
Well, I think you keep working on it, but you also have to understand that some of the things that they're being asked to do are plug gaps inside, and with what the nature of what we're doing defensively at times, those three guys aren't going to be pass rushers. You got to get it from the outside linebackers, and you've got to get it from pressure packages and some of that stuff. Now, when they're one-on-one blocked at times, we'd like to get more out of than what we're getting sometimes, but I think, as a coach, we understand you have to look at the call and see what you're asking them to do. It's not always fair to them to, say they're not getting any pressure when, you're asking somebody to hold a point against two blockers or do something like that. So there's no question the more pressure you get, the better off your pass defense is going to be.